bullshit. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good today. Hey, Shawn, this is Tim with the Fifth Ward. Okay,
The
this is
green one.
our
What the hell's
right.
going
Yeah,
on? You got a green background there for? Is that some kind of special St. Patrick's Day?
I'm honoring. I'm honoring DPW recycling program.
Not a boy. They're hard workers and they do a great job.
Yeah, they are. Look at we got a big agenda today, so a lot of things to talk about. So let's just get started.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, man. Hey, listen, Tim. Before we really get started, I just wanted to say to everybody, listen, our podcast is up and running. We're doing the best we can, but we need to have more people subscribe. So if you'll just subscribe, all you got to do is hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell, and every time we have a new podcast, it will pop up and let you know there's a new podcast, and you guys can watch it, enjoy it, and critique us.
Yeah, this
Because
is number
certainly,
18, correct?
yeah, 18.
Yeah,
You
number
know,
18. So
nobody gave us any f bombs or nothing. Only I did that a few times, but I stopped doing that. I'm a true professional now.
yeah, and
But
look, we do have a guest in the green room waiting.
yeah, and we'll bring him in short order. But before we get there, Timmy, I just want to say, everything we talk about is fluid, right? The city's
Yeah.
always moving, and the same things come up over and over and over
Yep.
again, and that's important because we just want to continue to follow those things so we can report back to the people. So I want to go back into the agonizing ambulance because rumor is it that the city paid for a report. That report is back, and I want to talk about that. First, though, I want to just go over to a broadcast that was on. I want people to hear it, and I want people to be able to hear it straight from the mayor's mouth and from the news instead of just us all the time. So here we go.
And tonight, we continue our reporting on EMS at a breaking point. We told you at 4 and 5, some municipalities provide their own public ambulance service funded by taxpayers and patients. Others contract with a private for-profit company. Some use a mix of both to cover 911 calls. One of the many communities grappling with the best way forward is Cohoes, where a tense debate is taking shape. The city's long-standing agreement with a private provider ended. That happened earlier this year. Now neighbors could be looking at a double-digit tax increase. Stella Porter joins us now with that part of the story. Stella.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about a double-digit tax increase. Now we know that the mayor personally said that this double-digit tax increase is something that is likely. We also know that trying to get a double-digit tax increase when there's, a property tax cap and all of those great things is very difficult because you have to go to the John McDonald's and the Neil Breslins of the world who don't want you to think that they would ever raise your taxes, even though they stole a $32,000 raise for themselves just before Christmas. But that was a whole nother podcast. But what we do know right now is the city's paying $88,000 a month, right? Because they chose this ambulance. A lot of scrutiny, but they chose this ambulance. There was a committee put together by the city council that is supposed to examine the cost. I think we both can agree that's a dog and pony show, but people really need to know what's going on. So let me just continue with this video.
Hey, Rachel, emotions are running high right now in the city. The fire department's union is pushing to run that ambulance service and add more ambulances than the one offered right now in the interim by that private company. The mayor is in favor of letting the private company run it. And with people's lives on the line, the stakes could not be higher.
They have already done what we're in the process of doing.
Cohoes Mayor Bill Keeler could soon have to do something he did not foresee, find $600,000 or raise taxes. For decades, Cohoes budgeted nothing for EMS. Private company Empire provided service for free.
Now, we both know, Timmy, that, the mayor wasn't anticipating $600,000, but through our contacts and many conversations that we had, we know that that was not necessary, that there was an ambulance company that offered to provide the service without having to be stationed right here in a permanent house, but having its ambulance in the city and very close by, Mohawk ambulance. And so
Right.
when the city decides to pay $600,000, and it's more than that now, right? It was an $88,000 contract. When they decide to do that, that's their choice. There was another option, and these guys chose not to take a chance on that option, to do a
Right.
pilot program with that
Right.
option. And they
What they
certainly,
actually, yeah, what they said is at no cost to the
at no
city.
cost. And we've had some conversations off the records with people that,
Yep.
we speak to through the podcast, and, the whistleblowers and everybody else who comes out of the woodwork. But we know for sure that an ambulance company, the most premier ambulance company in the capital region, not this ambulance company, but Mohawk, said, hey, not only can we provide you one ambulance, but we have enough backup ambulances throughout the capital region. 33 ambulances, I believe, was the number they told me. So you'd never have to worry. And the funny part is the city turns it down, yet it relies on them as backup now. It makes
Which
no
is true.
sense. It makes no sense. Let's continue on here. I want to hear the rest of this.
In January, Ambulance took over Empire's license and sent the city a bill for $50,000 a month.
50 grand.
Historically, we've spent nothing on our EMS, but now
Which shot up to 88.
we'll be spending at a minimum $600,000 a year.
The city is on a month-to-month contract with Ambulance for one ambulance that responds to 911 calls. If the company takes over permanently, Mayor Keeler says the city will pay for it using pandemic rescue money this year. But next year,
How much of a tax increase could you be looking at for that 600,000?
So you're looking at 12, 13, 14%.
Now, right out of the horse's mouth, he says, I'll use pandemic money this year, but you're looking at 13, 14, 15% tax increases. Now, I didn't make that up. You didn't make that up. Here he is on the news telling you that that's what the city's facing. Now, how does the city get to that number if it doesn't raise the taxes, Timmy? They don't just have $1 million a year to throw out the window. It's a poor decision by people who are not experts in the field of EMS, who think because they may have been a state trooper or some other type of emergency services employee, that it all fits into the same pigeonhole. And that's not true. That's not true by no means. And I think you're seeing a guy who's over his head right now because his decisions and his unwillingness to work with the firefighters, that's for sure, has cost us $88,000 a month. And maybe you have pandemic money now. But what do you do next year, Tim? When they can't find the money, what happens?
Well, what they did, and as you know, okay, we talked about this offline, okay, that they provided, the city provided numbers to someone that put the numbers all together. So look, if I tell somebody it's 2 plus 4 plus 2, I know the outcome is going to be number 8.
Yeah,
And what the
and we're going to
city
get to
did-
that. We're going to get to
Right.
that. But my question to you, Timmy, as a city resident and somebody who's got more
Yeah.
knowledge about what's going on, what happens when the city does not have
Tax increase.
what happens when they can't raise taxes? What's the next
2%?
thing that happens? They
Well,
cut
they're
your
gonna do-
services.
Yeah, they're going to cut services. They're going to lay off probably police, fire. They already got an eye on the firefighters already, reducing the staff levels. It's going to be a problem next year.
There is going to be pain. There's no way around it.
Yep.
This city has done zero in way of bringing in private revenues. They rely strictly on government revenues. The same reason the city got in so much trouble over the last, since the John McDonnell and the Canestrari days, right?
Yeah,
If you
it's
just
gonna
rely
dry up.
on city government to pay your bills and the taxpayer, you're going to strangle them to death and you're going to become an old rundown mill town like we were. This guy is putting you and me and every other citizen in that position because he doesn't know what he's doing. Because nobody's going to allow him to raise taxes 15%. So you're going to see fire department decrease. You're going to see police have to decrease. DPW. There's no other way around it. You can't pay the bill if you don't have the money.
And they're going to
that
cut the
simple.
overtime that they're all getting too.
Well,
because
you
they don't
can
have
cut-
the overtime money too,
They should
which
probably.
is a reduction of services.
That's right. When you don't have the overtime money and they're not giving you the same amount of services in the same level. I always say, if you're going to charge me more and give me less, you're a failure. If you're going to charge me less and give me more, you're successful. Let me just continue on.
Just to cover the 600,000. And then if they go with anything fancier, It could be double that.
Here last night for a couple hours.
Fire Chief Joseph Fod is pleased with the EMS ambulance is providing. He described old provider Empire's service as shoddy at best. He says ambulance provides more consistent service. The fire department could not provide data to compare response times. But Cohoes Fire Union is ramping up a campaign to take over ambulance service. Union President Rob Watsman believes the city should never have been in this position and would never be if it ran its own ambulance service.
Now, the fire department, and you see it here through their spokesman, who's the president of the union, is saying, whoa, not so fast, my friends. We can provide this service at a far better price. And even if you're willing to pay $88,000 to a private ambulance company that's going to see that increase every year because they're always going to need more money, they have to give out raises, the price of gas, the price of this, the price of that. So if you're willing to pay $88,000 a month, even if we cost you $88,000 a month, you're a better fire department, a better city, relying on more established people that have long-term careers, that are EMTs for years and years and years, not a bunch of young kids who are just getting into the business. I have great respect for them, but a lot of these ambulances have turnover very quickly. The EMT may just be out of school for 6 months. He's got a job. He works a couple years, goes into some deeper position in medicine, goes to school, becomes a paramedic. So the fire departments have always had the long-standing employees with hours and hours and hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours of training. And they're certainly going to give you a better service, at least in my opinion. Am I biased? I was a firefighter in the city coast 27 years. I know the character of these people, and I know the abilities that they have, and they will be a far greater service, even if it costs $88,000. But that's not what I believe, and that's not what many people believe. But let's hear what Watson says.
Firefighters are all trained EMTs who already provide basic life support on EMS calls.
So I think this is a perfect opportunity for the city of Cohoes to invest in the fire department, to let us give a better service to our residents, because we're already responding to the calls.
How much it would cost is up for debate. Neither the city nor the union could provide 13 Investigates with the estimated annual carrying cost after the service starts. The mayor estimates it would cost $1.2 million to start up a city-run ambulance, double what it will cost for Ambulance this year. Keeler, who's himself a retired state police major, says the city would need to hire around 20 additional firefighters.
It just seems to me it would be much cheaper to hire somebody off of the street, an EMT and a paramedic.
So where does he come up with we'd have to hire 20 employees? What would the other employees, the other 35 or 36, do all day if 20 more came into the department? It is a stretch. It is a misinformation campaign. It is a man who don't like a department and a union that has stood up against him because he's a bully. You've seen that in every department. He's hurt a lot of people, a lot of families. Talk about discipline. I understand discipline. We've all have to deal with it. I was disciplined as a fireman for doing something, not getting on the truck fast enough. You get written up. 45-day suspensions by these clowns is like Pez coming out of the top of the clown head. It's sad to see what they're doing, but we'll talk about the 20 new employees in a minute.
He just pulled. Look, it's an even number. He pulled a rabbit out of his hat. He just pulled that number out of nowhere.
Yeah,
okay,
and it has no value, and it's a lie.
Right, it's totally fabricated.
And we'll talk about that soon, Tim. Let me finish this.
Hire a firefighter and all the benefits that go along with that, and all the time off, which is a significant problem. They get a lot of time off.
But Watsman believes the department could get 2 used ambulances and start the service for closer to $300,000. Watsman sees the city of Amsterdam as comparable in size and spending. In 2022, Amsterdam made an average of $625,000 in
$625,000 Amsterdam made through their ambulance. Now listen, there's only one real thing that you have to look at. You know, I told you this before. I took a class in statistics, and it wasn't my favorite, but there was something that I got out of it, and it was a 5-minute conversation with the person who was teaching me the class. I said, you know, when I look at these statistics, it looks like I can make them read what I want. He said, Shawn, congratulations. I got to give you an A because you have said something that most students haven't. I go, what's that? He goes, there's two types of statistics, those you look up and those you make up. I mean, that's the reality. And if you own the information, you twist it any way you want. You could say, I'm going to build a house, right? Well, a tiny house is 40,000. Donald Trump's house is 40 million. Okay, so you can't just use the term. You have to look at the reality of what you're trying to accomplish. And what the city's doing is they're trying to accomplish a masquerade to the people because he's a bully and he don't like the firemen. And they're doing that by saying, oh my God, to start an ambulance, we'd have to hire more than 20 firefighters. Christ, that's more than half the department that we already have.
Right, they're fabricating all of this stuff.
Oh, we're going to have to pay for this. We're going to have to do that. But
in revenue a year from its public ambulance service to offset some $3 million of its fire department budget. Wattsman estimates Cohoes could generate about $250,000 in its first year. He says it should be about investing in the department and letting him and his fellow firefighters serve the community they care about. When you're dealing with people's lives, he argues, it shouldn't be about paying the least amount.
You're not going to make money running an ambulance. The for-profit companies do because that's what they're there for. They're there to make money.
The fire union is viewing things through their own prism. They want a bigger department.
And you're viewing things through your own prism.
More money, and good for them. I mean, that's the unions. That's what they should be looking at from the union perspective. But I'm looking at it strictly from a public safety perspective. How do we provide the best EMS service to the residents?
So the mayor says that he's not looking at it through anything other than a public safety perspective, and the firemen are looking at it from a union perspective. I think that's a shot, and it's a shameful comment because those firefighters have spent their whole lives risking their lives in this community for strangers and friends and foes alike. They don't know everybody that they run into a burning building to save. And to say that the only thing they're looking at it from is to build a stronger department to make more money is shameful. Here's a guy sitting on a $98,000. $98,000 blows my mind. A state pension. Is it always the people that live in $500,000 houses that make $97,000 that always want to make it look like somebody else is trying to steal from the cookie jar? It's shameful, Tim. Firemen ain't looking at it for any other thing other than saying we want to be the best fire department we can be and provide the best service to save people's lives.
And it's all about public safety, and that's what they're interested. But that's not what Keeler's interested in.
No, although on this show, on this broadcast, he wants to underscore the fact that I'm looking at it from. He wouldn't know public safety had hit him in the head. When he was a Cohoes cop, you could find him slunched over in the car, hiding in an alleyway, taking a nap. Okay, and when he becomes the head of the state troopers, he becomes an administrator. He ain't out there in the grind every day in the city of Cohoes.
And he doesn't put together budgets either for the state hands him a budget.
They hand him a budget. That's a whole political argument there, but let's finish this up, and then I want to talk about something.
The residents of Cohoes.
Do you think that taxpayers would bristle at possibly spending a little bit more money to get a city-run service?
I think that the taxpayers are going to be paying more no matter what.
Keeler.
So his closing statement is, would the city, they ask him, would the city residents pay a little more? And his response is, they're going to pay a little more, regardless.
Right.
So
for his mistake.
Yes, because his arrogance.
Yeah.
His arrogance not to take a chance on the best ambulance company because there's something else going on here. You got a fire chief who hates that ambulance company. You got a mayor who's not smart enough to say, look at fire chief, we're going to go with this one and you're going to make it work. And we're going to give it a 30, 60, 90-day trial period. If it doesn't work, we could always go out to bid, but let's give it a shot because this company that we're relying on now sometimes took an hour to get here. I mean, it doesn't make no sense. Mm-hmm. It's like the whole rest of the world that we live in right now. Nothing makes sense. People in charge are senseless. Common sense ain't that common, Tim. It just isn't. But so listen, I've never been a big supporter of these bullshit, committees, commissions, task force, all these fancy words to make it sound like, you're going to do something to
EMS
fix.
task force.
Yeah, you're going to do something to fix something that you already did that you screwed up, right? And it's going to be the same people.
And you're going to present it to someone who doesn't even want to listen to you, and it's already said decision made, it's final.
Correct. Now, there's only one reason that I was interested in the task force today and yesterday. I
Yeah.
was trying to do a little homework. And that's because I was told that the city paid to have a consultant write a report. So I said, well, they've already had 2 meetings. And so I searched the city website and I find this, right? Stay informed. So I go in there and I do my research and I find the 2 task force minutes, the meetings. You click the button that says minutes. And holy shit, I was given so much information, my head exploded. There's what the information is. 6 p.m. EMS task force. EMS task force. I mean, come on. They don't even put minutes of the last meeting. They don't put anything about what they're going to discuss. They're not talking to anybody who's a professional. They're not talking to anybody who understands what their goals and objectives are. They don't know their goals and objectives. Okay? And so how does this task force function if they can't even tell the public what they're talking about? And so if you paid for a report by a consultant, don't you think you'd make copies of that report, have them available for the people that show up to this dog and pony show, and then be able to go over it, have the person who wrote the report come to the task force, explain it so the public could hear? I mean, don't you think that's what logic would tell you to do? But they don't even have a report available. So I have to go and do some snooping myself to try to find any information on the report. But I didn't want to just take this website for granted. Maybe somebody forgot something. And, so I contacted Biggs. He's the head of the task force.
He's
now,
the chairman, yeah.
I know he lost his race and he'll be out of office soon. But you're still here and give it your best and try to figure out what the issues are before the end of the year.
And let me cut into real quick on this too. After his election loss, he told me, "Hey, I'm going to get a hold of Otto Matson. He's an expert on this stuff, right?" And he says, "I'll get a hold of him in a couple of days." Shawn, that was well before the holidays. I think back in June. Still has not contacted Otto at
They're
all.
not going to contact anybody.
So they're not doing anything.
No, and they're not going to contact anybody who's smart enough to dispute what they're doing. And it's crazy. So look, and I said, you know what? I'm going to give Adam, I'm going to give him a little opportunity here. I mean, maybe they're not putting the stuff up on the web, the web the way they're supposed to. So I said, look, I'm going to text him. I'm going to message him because that's how you get a hold of him. So I messaged him. I'll give him a little benefit of the doubt. It was about 8 o'clock this morning. But as of today, this is the response I got, Tim. I said, hey, Adam, is there minutes posted of the committee report? And is there a city report that should have been posted from their consultant? I don't see anything. And I get this freaking response. Hey, thanks for contacting us. Well, who's us? This is his personal Facebook. I don't know who us is. And it says, we received your message and appreciate you reaching out. What does that mean? You appreciate reaching out. Can you at least say, hey, I got your message and I respond accordingly? But freaking, he's got an automated something. It took a little while for it to come, but that's what I get. That's what the public get.
Yeah.
That's what you get when you respond to him. You ask him about these meetings that he's in charge of, and he says, thanks for reaching out.
Well, this is why I think he lost his election, because this is the standard procedure with him all the time. As much as I like the guy personally, you can't get him to do anything, or he can't get answers, and he doesn't push for the answers either. This task force is a farce, not going anywhere.
So let me just tell you what I did find out, okay? And I had to do a lot of digging and research, and people had to help me find some information. And you got to do all the secret shit nobody wants nobody to know, because Keeler the bully will, break out the whip and whip you out of work for 45 days or whatever. But so there was a report that was conducted, okay? And I got to think Ken Coughlin was the person that did the report. And I got to tell you something. I think he is fantastic. I think he's a constant professional. I think the reports that he puts out, whether it be something that he's paid for to do this, or whether it's, the city finances, is true, accurate to a pinpoint. I mean, the guy is brilliant. But he can only give you a report based on the narrative that he's receiving and the numbers that he receives
from the city.
From the city. He's not just sitting home saying, well, I think I'm going to give you my personal opinion. And I've worked with him. He's worked with me. We've had disagreements when I was in the legislature about the nursing home and the cost, because he would get the information that's blurted out at the time by those who wanted to close the nursing home, Mike Breslin. And now he's getting the information from the city. Now, I don't have the ability to put up what I received because it had names and stuff on it, and I didn't want to do that. But let me just tell you, and I'm going to have to paraphrase a little of this, right? But let me just tell you basically what it said. It basically said that the city would have to spend upwards of $3 million to start an ambulance, and that they would need like X amount of guys and more supervisors, and they would need this and they would need that. And in the report, he clearly states that the information he got was from the city controller, who was brilliant in his own way, and the guy knows every nickel in the city. He's the best controller that I know. And through the professionalism of the fire department fire chief, who gave them all the information as to what would be needed. And there lies your problem. The Pinocchio information that comes out is slanted to build you an EMS department from scratch. It isn't about taking EMS and transport and putting it over into the fire department. They give you a report that's like building, the Taj Mahal, starting from the first permit and digging the foundation. And why the report is brilliant in itself, because if you were doing that, those numbers are right. But that's not what's being done. The fire department already has X amount of people. And I would tell you that the only thing the city would have to do, Tim, the only thing, is they'd have to agree to have 6 men a day. The union already works straight time in lieu of overtime in part of their union agreement, so they could keep staffing up. Those greedy firemen who don't care really about public safety, it's just about the union perspective, gave up their overtime to keep enough men, so not only would they be safe, but they felt like they could at least do some of the job, because 5 firemen can't put out fires all by themselves, but at least they could do some of the job. Those greedy bastards gave up their overtime, Timmy. Okay?
And we do have the facilities as well.
And we already have everything.
Yeah, we have everything.
We have everything. So let's just say, for all intents and purposes, you decided, okay, I'm going to have the fire department do this transport. Okay, what do you got to do? Well, if they tell you that you can't go out and buy a used ambulance fully equipped for $67,000, they're misleading you, because I looked it up today and there's 100 of them on the internet from reputable companies that sell ambulances. Yes. There's also our local neighbors that have ambulances that offered to sell them for a fully equipped for 2 of them for less than a quarter of what they're telling you that it's going to cost.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, because they put out, we need an ambulance, and they're $300,000. Well, sure they are.
Yeah, so
just like a fire department.
Right. We're looking for a starter ambulance.
Just like a fire department can go buy a fire truck for $2 million, or get the same fire truck without the bells and whistles for $1 million.
Right.
Excuse me. So don't feed me all of the crap. Be honest. I would respect Keeler and Fod and even DeRocher if they could come out and say, listen, we don't want to do it. We don't want it in the fire department. We don't want to be in a position where we have to negotiate and do all these things. We want to be able to slide in a private company, pay them, not worry about the employees and anything else. We don't want to deal with all the nonsense. We just don't want to do it. There lies the truth. And I'd respect that.
I agree, yeah.
And you would respect that. And the residents would say, hey, we all respect that. But hey, not so fast, because your unwillingness to do what it is that you do, which is to be an administrator, is costing $88,000 a month. And it's going to bring repercussions down upon us that most of us will not be able to handle, including me and everybody else, because most people live paycheck to paycheck. And every time your taxes go up for the city, they go up for the school, then they go up for the county, and then they're fining you for not closing your garbage cans. They're nickel and diming you to death. Cohoes is now the nickel and dime city to pay for their irresponsible decisions with this freaking ambulance.
Well, it's a Trojan horse, Shawn, and as soon as they get inside the gate, they're going to increase the taxes. And that's what's going to happen.
So go ahead, Timmy, but you're right. They're going to increase taxes, cut services, fine you, fee. They're going to figure out every freaking way to get you to pay more money to pay for their mistakes.
Yeah, right. And I'm going to tell you, the COVID money's drying up, and that it's all going to fall on us.
Yeah.
You wait and see, and they're going to hide this.
Listen, you
before
ain't got
the
to tell
election.
me, brother. I'm with you. I see it. I
So
see
do
it. Now let me just
convince the people out there to say it
well,
and become concerned.
Sometimes the only people that see things because they're busy with their life is when their pocketbook gets smacked.
Yeah.
And people are starting to see it.
They'll see the big lie come November.
I see them all the time, man. I see it all the time. People talk to me all the time, email me all the time. Timmy, listen, I'm going to just give you a quick 5-second. Well, I've never been able to talk for 5 seconds. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of what I think the city could do, right? They currently have 5 men a day. They have $150,000 put away in overtime. That's the budget, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
The union agreed not to take time and a half, but to take straight time because they're so greedy that they only care about themselves, right? So now they're working for straight time. If the city had a double, even if they had a double and a half and raised the, I call it safety staffing or ambulance fee, even if they had to raise it so the budget reflects $300,000 in that line instead of 150, even if it represented 400,000 in that line rather than 150. That's all it would cost because they only got to bring in one guy extra every single day. The fifth guy's getting straight time. The sixth guy gets overtime. What the report did say, which is accurate because I did the numbers looking at a report that I was part of in 2009, the city could generate $900 and some thousand a year in revenues, and after expenses, the city would have probably $450,000 in the black that could go back into the fire department, back into cutting taxes, and you'd have a better service and a better fire department. Now, I know there's hiccups in there, and you have to sit down, negotiate, and do all the things that it takes. But it doesn't take a rocket science to say, we only need one guy a day. We're going to generate $1 million in calls, even if it costs us $400,000 a year to get it up and running. The first year a little more because we're paying for all of the used ambulances and the equipment, etc. Then that cost drops down to just the staff that you already pay. Remember this. They're already paying all these firemen on their days off. If they bring them in for a guy, it's only half time. If you bring it in for a regular fireman, it's less than half time because they agreed for the fifth person. It's safety staffing, and it's not time and a half. So,
and also, Shawn, okay, I mean, the people that need the ambulance, they get billed.
The city will generate 900. The report says it. The city would generate 900,000. The problem is after you use all the numbers provided to the person who did the report, based on what they're saying they need, based on their experts.
Yep.
Well, that 900,000 gets eaten up, and now you're $1 million, $1.5 million in the hole. That is the truth. Using their picture, their picture, right? The numbers are the same. It's using their picture. It's using their puzzle. It's using the thing that they want to do to misconstrue the information and what you really need. People, don't be fooled. They don't need to hire 20 firemen. They don't need to hire more supervisors. All that's hogwash. And you don't have to believe me. Just go over to Waterville. Go to some other cities comparable to ours. Ask them yourself. Send them emails. You will find that the truth is coming from us and the bullshit is coming from them. We have nothing to gain other than trying to give you the information. But $900,000 in revenue, it probably cost them $350,000 to get started. And the city would be making money. They could use that money to offset taxes and whatever else they need, make a better fire department, better police department, better DPW. but they're lying to you. They're giving you the misinformation. When you own the facts, you twist them the way you want. It's like this is how it has to be done, and there's no other way. No, there's a lot of other ways, Timmy. They just want you to see their way, which is the most expensive way to deter the residents from buying into supporting the firefighters. Do you agree with that?
I do, and I also I have high hopes that the new Common Council will come in there, and they got to think this on out because they all ran on this as being unacceptable, unsustainable, and let's see if they do something about it.
Yeah, let's
It's going to
see.
be in their it's going to be in their hands once we get rid of the existing council.
Well, we'll find out.
We're going to find out.
There's the most updated information on the ambulance. You have the city giving you bullshit. You have a report that's stellar from the numbers and the information provided.
But it's biased. It's a biased report.
But it was biased by the city because they set the narrative.
Yeah.
And if I did the report, it would be the same way because the numbers don't lie. But if we did it based on what really was needed to get an ambulance up and running, it's a fraction of what they're trying to tell you.
So in the end, basically, that report was skewed based on the information the city provided, to come on out with a certain outcome. It was very predictable what has happened here.
Yeah, because the numbers are the numbers.
Yeah,
but
so it was predictable.
But the narrative is different.
Yeah.
The narrative. Just again, you can paint the picture that you can build the same house. One's $1 million, and you can build another one for $500,000.
And that's and that's why we are where we are. And you got a arrogant, ignorant mayor that can't see things differently. Simply got his head up his ass. That's all.
Yeah, it's sad. So, Timmy, moving on to the next topic, because I tell you, we talked about the ambulance to the point I'm nauseated about it. But I had to talk to you about it today because I know there's a report. It's not given to the public yet, but when it does, I want people to be well aware that I can slant my information based on my own narrative any way I want. But that doesn't mean it's true in way of reality of what's necessarily needed to have a stellar transportation system in the city. But
Let's jump into the next thing.
Yeah, so one of the things that's been going on a lot is we get a lot of emails, a lot of residents calling us, a lot of people saying how they complain about things, and they're not necessarily getting anything that they asked for, or they're ignored, or they're but it's cool to get all these people who watch the show now who want to send us the information. So, today we got a special guest, and it's your friend, my friend, and a friend of so many is Tony Severia. And I want to bring Tony into the show. Hey, Tony, how you doing, buddy?
What's going on, gentlemen, coach? Tony, how's going on, buddy?
Hey, Shawn, Tony, thanks for the patience waiting on us to get to you.
Oh, no problem. It's a pleasure listening to you guys.
So I went down there. So I met up with, just to move along here, I met up with Tony this morning, and Tony's going to elaborate basically what's going on down in the First Ward regarding what I'd like to call the Keeler Cave, down
Keeler Cave.
Yeah, the Keeler Cave, or the Keeler Crater, whatever you want to call it. Tony, welcome aboard.
Hey, Tim, the coach, how you doing? Well, it's a sinkhole to hell, I'll tell you that. They've known about it for about 4 months.
Let's start with this, Tony. Tony, let's start with this. So there was a sinkhole.
Yep.
And I could see the picture of it here on the screen.
And we're bringing that picture up.
It's massive. You reported it because you were concerned about somebody getting hurt?
Correct. I contacted Councilman Bill Smith, which is the avenue that you're supposed to go. He contacted City Hall, Amanda Primo, and Commissioner Hennessy was out within a matter of 20 minutes. They put a piece of plywood over the top of it and 2 orange cones. That was 4 months ago.
Yeah.
4 months ago.
And that alleyway is a jungle, too, to get to it.
Conveniently, 2 days after Bill Smith lost the primary, they started working on cutting the branches and clearing the alleyway. And they came back with a bigger piece of plywood, now a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of plywood. Because they said, wow, holy shit, the hole's getting bigger. Well, now that 4 by 8 sheet of plywood is ready to fall in the hole.
So I can see it. I put a picture up for the audience to see. I mean, that doesn't look like a hole. That looks like a crater, for Christ's sake. And putting a piece of wood over it. Don't they think
For
kids
4
are
months,
inquisitive? 4 months. I get it because, here's the bottom line. Again, Keeler's a hater, and he hated Billy Smith. And Billy Smith worked his ass off and spoke his piece. But you know what happens when you speak the piece? The more you tell the truth about things, the more they want to kill you. Nobody knows better than I. I always tell you that, right?
Yeah,
and so Billy would speak his piece, and they would take it out on the residents because they wouldn't do anything for Billy. So they let this crater. Timmy, it looks like somebody dropped something out of an airplane and blew up the ground.
Well, basically, look, it's not just kids that walk through there. It's if you really take a look at that whole alleyway, it's a jungle. Okay, and there's so much vines and tree on the utility lines and stuff. National Grid tries to go in there do work. They can't even get in there, Shawn.
Timmy, did National Grid try to go in there?
Yeah, Tony will let
Tony,
you know.
tell me a little bit about that.
The National Grid had their contractor that trims the trees, usually around. So they came in after the city came in first and started trimming branches, and they realized they were in over their head. So they called this contractor that National Grid brings in, and they came in and they threw their hands up and said, "This is bigger than we thought. This is crazy," and they left and just walked away.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy. I wish I had a better shot of the whole. And I know Timmy sent me some pictures of it.
I'll post them on the Fifth Ward page.
Yeah, put them on the Fifth Ward page because you're going to see the whole alleyway. What a disaster.
It's a jungle.
And look, you can see the telephone pole leaning. So they must be coming to say our wires are getting buried back there.
Well, there's a tree in one neighbor's yard there that's really leaning down on a service cable going to the building, and it's pulling that pole over. And you can't get to the pole because the sinkhole's there.
You can't drive down the alleyway with that.
You can't.
Listen, here's the problem. They show up, look at it, and forget about it. And some kid or somebody's going to walk through there and get hurt. Kids are inquisitive. They're going to go jump on the plywood because it bounces. I can see it happening now. That would keep me up at night.
You get a kid running down the alley at night, they're not going to see that plywood. They're going to go right down.
These are the things that I really appreciate when people call us and come on the show and talk about. And Tony, I really appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate all the things you do for the community. You're a great community advocate. Hey, you started your own business.
Yeah, I started my own business a few months back called Real Nice Property Services. Basically trying to do all the little things that the big contractors refuse to do anymore.
Well, there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. I'll come and change a light bulb for you if you want. If you're a senior citizen and you can't put your garbage can out, you know what? I'll come do that for free. I got no problem with that. You give me a call. You tell me what day your garbage goes out. I'll wheel your can down for you. I'll wheel it back in the next day.
Hey, listen, I got to tell you something. It's always little jobs that it's hard to find somebody to do, right?
Absolutely.
Or you call somebody up and you say, well, I can do that, but it's $800. $800?
Yeah.
I could do it myself, but I can't climb a ladder no more for 5 minutes.
And everyone starts small and they want to go big. I just want to focus on the small stuff. Do all the little things that no one else wants to do.
Well, tell everybody
because there's a big niche for that. You can find me on Facebook. You can contact me at 518-810-8285 or realnicepropertyservices@gmail.com.
Did you send Timmy all that information? He could put a picture up and put the link, all that stuff to you.
Absolutely.
So that people know
I'll
you're
take
out
care
there.
of that as soon as we're done here.
I can vouch for your character. You're a good man.
Well, I can vouch for yours as well.
I'm going to do my best to see if I can't get Steve Hennessy to hire him to fill in a sinkhole.
I don't understand why.
I'm a registered Republican. They won't hire me in college.
Hey, listen, you're probably on the right path because at least you're not a left or Democrat liberal that's destroying our communities.
Well, he's gonna need a machete to get to that sinkhole to cut down all the brush and everything that's. You can't even see the end of the street.
One of the worst parts is my neighbor who lives right across the alley. She has a son who has autism, and she's a great mom, and she keeps her eye on him all the time. But you never know. That one time he slips away, and she's has her attention turned. What if that kid falls in that hole? So that's dangerous. They're going to be reactive, and when something bad happens, everyone's going to want to know. Well, why didn't anybody do anything about this? Well, you know what? The city knew about it, and they didn't do shit about it.
Now, if this was an employee, they'd want to suspend him for 45 days, right? But they don't want to suspend the people in charge. That's what really bothers me.
Yeah, hey, it's not the DPW workers. Those guys work hard. The DPW they can only do what they're told to do.
They do what they're told. And if they don't toe the line, they get whipped. And when you get suspended, you already seen people leave because they were harassed. Guys like Mike Murray, one of the greatest mechanics that this city has ever had. I heard that he left the city. He just couldn't take it no more. every time he turned around, they're trying to discipline him. They went after people in the water plant. They went after people from every walk, firefighters, cops. I was the mayor of a city. I understand. I was a union. I still love unions more than I love any type of administrative job. But I understand we all screw up and we have to pay the price. Sometimes when you do something really bad, egregious, something that, puts the city in a bad way, you might get suspended 30 days until you go to a hearing and then you try to work something out with them. But I've never in my total career seen people getting suspended for 45 days. You're taking a month and a half of someone's livelihood. I'd be homeless. I'd be living in that pothole.
20 days for calling the mayor a clown. 20 days.
They should have given him a word. He is a clown. Look at the pothole that he's not getting fixed.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, it's great to see you. Appreciate you coming on the show. Make sure you send the information over to Timmy and we'll get it up so people know how to get a hold of you.
I will. I appreciate you guys shedding light on the subject.
And Tony, look at you got friends, family, anybody else wants to join the podcast, okay? You know how to do it now. Get a hold of this. We'd like to have more and more people come on board, tell their stories, what's going on, okay?
Absolutely. I appreciate it, gentlemen. You guys have a great day.
Talk to you soon. So, Timmy, the next issue that we have, and it's, God, it just gets better and better. I know, all we do is pound on the city, but what do you look at? What else am I going to tell you? That there's an Easter bunny hunt once a year?
Well, it's contagious what's going on in the city, okay? They don't care about the people. I go to an ethics board meeting. I'm in there at a public hearing, okay? They don't want to hear what you're talking about, and they turn around and call me a jerk twice. Now I've been called
hey, maybe you are a jerk.
Yeah, I am. I've been called far worse by a lot better people. Okay?
You can laugh about it. You can laugh about it.
But they're city representatives, and they whip around the chair. You're a jerk, and they get out of the room. Get out.
That's what I mean. You're talking about an ethics board.
An ethics
citizens jerks.
Jerks.
If that's not an ethics violation, and if Mayor Keeler can suspend somebody for calling him a clown for 20 days, you should contact him and ask him what he's going to do about a member of some ethics commission calling you a clown or a jerk or an asshole or whatever.
And I gave a formal complaint to Adam Biggs. Also, he turned around and gave it to Billy McCarthy. And you think they would work on the problem in-house? No, they're going outside to the city to some New York State calm thing. They can't even work on a simple problem like that in the city of Cohoes, okay? This is what they did. It's wrong, and they don't have a solution. It's the Don Russell effect. Can't even get a slap on the wrist of these people.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Did you get the Adam Biggs automatic reply like I got? We're looking into this.
No, he goes, I gave it over to Billy McCarthy, and we're also bringing it up to NYSCOM, whatever that is. Adam, this is internal in the city. The state, they don't get involved in your day-to-day operation, disciplining your members for, offending members of the public during public meetings. It's it's the opposite of what happened with
dysfunction. Smells like a skunk all the time.
This reeks. It's just awful.
So, Timmy, I got the picture up for the public to see, and this is quite interesting, right? So they spent, and this ain't the only spot.
Yeah.
They did it across the street from James Street, too. So they put in all these beautiful sidewalks, right?
Yep.
And on the end of this sidewalk, this is Central Avenue and Columbia Street, correct?
Yeah.
That's the corner. And right on the corner where the handicap ramp should be for people who need to get on and off the sidewalk, they have a brand new pole that they planted to replace that bent over pole that's right next to it. And my hope is, well, I don't even know how they would do it. I mean, I think they should have better engineers look at this, because how the hell would you get a wheelchair down?
Yeah, a lot of people are on these motorized wheelchairs and stuff, right?
Yeah.
You can't get around the pole.
It's kind of foolish. They did the same thing up by James Street in the middle of the sidewalk, though, where they put brand new sidewalks around both poles, even though one of the poles has to come out. And you can't like piecemeal concrete. You're going to have to bang out that whole piece and replace the whole thing. Or otherwise, you're going to have a circle with different color concrete, water leaking through it, grass growing out of it. But when I'm looking at this picture, it almost looks to me, Timmy, like they're going to put the handicap ramp instead of on the corner where it's supposed to be, like up a little bit, and you'd have to go off the handicap into the road and then go down the road if you want to get over to Stewart's rather than being able to cross at the crosswalk.
Right. That's what it looks like. I'm
Or,
not sure.
I can't tell either. Or is the crosswalk right there, and now they're going to have to go down the crosswalk and go this way, then over this way, and then over this way, and do a freaking U-shape just to get to Stewart's. It looks like poor designing. I appreciate the sidewalks, but this city has done a horrible job being the oversight for all these developers and these projects. Every project we ever did, we sat down with our consultants, the developers, the person who was doing the work, and we talked about this. We would find there's always a problem that wasn't thought of when you start looking at it and asking questions. We would have, and I would do it myself with Kenny Ratliff. We would go up every day and look at the work that's being done, make sure the craftsmanship was acceptable to the city, that the cleanup was cleaned up. Christ, I feel like 2 years I've been going through dust balls and driving over rocks and tripping over shit that they just leave there. It's been a horrible experience. And I think the city's done a horrible job overseeing these projects. And there you go. If you see it on the screen, that's one right there. 2 telephone poles right where you're supposed to be able to go down the ramp for handicapped people.
There's another one too, Shawn. I think it's right off of Jane Street, that first right-hand turn. Okay, it's called Wilton, I think, Wilton Street or something. As soon as you come off that little handicap
Wilmer Ave?
drop off, Wilmer. As soon as you come off the handicap thing, and right where kids are walking down from school, right, they've got a storm sewer grate. Okay, instead of it being more so in the road, it's right in line with the sidewalk. I've got a
So how do you get over it? If can you get over it with a wheelchair?
You're going to be going right over on top of it. You could get stuck.
Yeah, one of the problems is that they sunk down these things so that the water would run down the hill and into the catch basin. They're not always level because then the water doesn't pour in.
Right, and the catch basin is right in line with the sidewalk. You won't believe it. I'm going to post a photo.
I would believe it because I just, and I know that you went down there today and I appreciate it. And I wish I had a chance and we had more time, but maybe we'll do it the next podcast. I mean, if you've seen the design of Columbia Street now, it is a joke.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to get in a crash. You may be able to drive down there now and follow that little yellow line so that you're not going straight and you turn off to the more narrow lane. But the city never keeps up with all the striping, and that striping disappears in about 6 to 8 months. And somebody's got to come shooting down and realize that, or not realize that they got to go over to the right, otherwise they're right head on into the other lane. It's just foolish. All to put these stupid flower bed and tree beds?
Yeah, it's a snake
that they won't take
now.
care of. That will be overflowed with weeds.
Yeah, it's a snake. If you're coming down,
I have a problem with weeds.
Right. It's so not only do you have a snake turn right there in a sense, but now you got kids coming up from school trying to cross the street. It's terrible design.
Yeah, we got to get a video of it so that people can see it that haven't seen it. But I look at why you would stick the sidewalks out that far. I thought there was some kind of method, and then I find out it's for trees and flowers. At least that's what I'm told. I'll stand corrected. But I know they'll be covered in weeds. And yes, Miss Rouge, I love you, and I know you're going to call me up and start yelling at me because I complain about weeds. But, boy, they bother me because the city looks terrible when weeds are everywhere.
I'm going to bring
the first thing that people see.
On that James Street, Columbia, I'm going to have to bring the drone down there because you got to see from overhead.
Yeah, I'd love to see you do that, Timmy. I think that would be great. Hey, Timmy, listen, let's kind of wrap it up with something good.
Yeah.
And that's the Hoffman Car Wash. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a big guy, a big investment in Cohoes. But I don't want to dull your moment here, but I don't remember a ribbon cutting.
Well, I didn't see ribbon cutting either, but I know that the people,
great people at Hoffman.
Go down there and get your free vacuum cleaning. I went in and I went in. There's about 300 people, for the free week.
Yeah.
And so I drive my car in, right? And I have this button in my car that when it's on, your car won't move. It won't roll, right? So that you can't down the hill or, you have to shut that off to make the four wheels roll. So I'm in this freaking thing, and they're trying to get me into the wash, and every time they hit the button, it comes in and lifts my car up. And I'm like, what the hell? What kind of malfunction is this? And I'm ready to say, I can't believe you guys put together a car wash that you can't even move the cars. It's broken. And the guy said, no, sir. You must have a button in there. And then I looked down, I pushed the button in there and I roll right to the car wash. So
Wow.
it was, I learned something about my car. But the car wash was great. The aesthetics is great. The place is beautiful. It's a great addition to the city. Don't forget, though, there's still a car wash up on Columbia Street.
Yes.
And I kind of really like that car wash, and I went through that one.
Yeah, I like that too.
I went through that the other day. Don't stop supporting everybody. Spread the wealth. Make sure that everybody in the city gets a little bit of help, because otherwise, if they don't, everything just seems to slowly fade away.
Yeah,
but hey, Timmy, that's quite the car wash.
It is, and I think we got a photo of that too. And
yeah, we're up.
It's not, and to me, it cleans up that corner. They went down, they laid down all new clean grass and sod and everything. Yeah. They did a beautiful job. It's really
kudos to the city.
It's attractive.
Kudos to the city for getting it here, and kudos for making it beautiful. And if they would spend more of their time trying to figure out how to make Cohoes a better place rather than letting weeds grow, punishing employees for the most ridiculous shit, leaving trench holes, and not understanding ambulances and respecting your fire department, we'd be a far better city.
Look at and just moving forward a bit. Down on 92 Main Street, we're going to have a new business. It's a mushroom growth shop. Okay.
Well, I don't know what kind of mushrooms they're going to sell, but God knows I could use some, because this city's driving me insane.
Yes, that water, and then Waterview Apartments down there, they're going to be rebranding, putting all new signs for the residents down there. They're going to finally put numbers on the doors.
Jimmy,
who you're looking for.
For all the years that it's been there, and I was a firefighter.
Yeah.
And all the calls that we get there, because they're older people living there, trying to figure out where you're going, what building is what number is what. It used to be a circle jerk, a fireman running around two different buildings, trying to figure out where they had to go. It's embarrassing. And the city let that happen. And that was under John McDonald, for not including the fire department and helping.
And they're fixing that all up now. I think they're going to even be a little boat ramp in the back to get access to the water.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So they're doing some good things down there. Okay. And I'm just looking through my notes here. I could tell you that there's been no zoning board or traffic commission minutes in 3 months. Okay.
Well, hey, listen, when we come back to the next podcast, maybe we'll have some. Why would you meet if you don't have to meet? I always said, don't have a $100 meeting to solve a $5 problem, and don't make me meet with a bunch of people when there's nothing to meet about, right? So who the hell knows? Maybe there's nothing going on.
The American Legion's still working towards a roof. Okay.
Keep donating, my friends. If you're out there and you hear us, please stop down the Legion, throw them a $5 bill, whatever you can. They're starting to get to the point where they're making headway, but every penny counts, and support our veterans.
Yeah.
Support our veterans. They deserve it.
Yep, they're having a tough time down there raising money. That they're trying to do 50-50s at Rock the Block, and I don't know if they've done their second one yet, but they've got to do another one. But the historical board did approve for them to have a new roof, even though you can't see the roof from the ground. Okay, they had to go to the historical board and say, "Hey, we need approval to replace our roof." And what kind of roof? What's it?
Rubber.
Ask a million questions.
Tucked away in the back corner.
And you got to get permission from the historical board to replace your roof that they can't even see from the ground. Anyway.
You can't make this shit up, Timmy.
No.
Hey, Timmy. Good to see you.
Okay, this is number 18, right?
Yeah, number 18.
So we're going to probably have to throw out a number 19 soon, too.
When we have our 20th, we'll have a party.
Good enough.